whispering entertainment. In tonight's video, we are back on the WWE doing a SummerSlam review. It's coming pretty late, but I already have the notes written and I just never recorded it for some reason. So I figure better late than never. I actually got a comment on another video. Shout out Cam. He was saying, where's the WWE talk? And he made a good point. How could there be a Big Four PLE and I'm supposed to be World Whispering Entertainment and I'm not gonna review the Big Four PLE? Like, come on, we gotta get it together. So some WWE content for you guys. Yeah, it's a 2-night event. There's a lot of matches, so I think I'm just gonna get right into it as fast as possible. First match of Saturday. Liv Morgan versus Io Sky for the Women's World Title. Io was kinda going crazy in the beginning. She had a lot of new offense. She had a sunset flip power bomb, like on the floor, like jumped through the ropes, sunset flip, and then power bombed her on the floor. She hit a German suplex on the apron. She did also on the apron. She did a bullet train attack onto the ring post, which was pretty nice. And then she even got to hit her own Oblivion. She hit Liv with the Oblivion. So Io was doing a lot of unique moves for her. And yeah, they were doing some good in-ring work. As we all know, in a Liv Morgan match, Judgment Day has to get involved. Io is putting the work on Liv, and she's going for the over-the-moonsault. And then Roxanne and Raquel interrupt her and don't let her hit her finish. She ends up taking out the Judgment Day with a moonsault to the outside, but then that opens the door for Liv to start running offense. Liv hit a second rope code breaker that Io sold really well. It was like one of the better code breakers I've seen in recent WWE. Then when we get towards the finish, Io is going for another over the moonsault. Liv gets her feet up and kind of like kicks Io in the face. Instead of the knees, they did the feet up, so a little bit of a different flavor. I appreciate it. After she counters Io's finish, sorry if you could hear the upstairs stepping. Liv hits an Oblivion, but Io catches herself and then does the little front flip thing that she does. After she hits in most of her matches, after she hits the missile drop kick, she gets up and does the little kip up into the front handspring thing before she does, her thing. It was kind of like that. She goes to get Oblivion, but then catches herself and then front flips out of it, which was really cool. And then it kind of didn't matter though, so she counters it, but then kind of pops off for herself that she did that, and then turns around, gets hit by another code breaker, and then she's in the ropes, gets hit by Oblivion, and 1, 2, 3, and Liv retains, which I did have in my predictions. So we are 1 for 1 in predictions so far, but that is not going to stay that way, especially Sunday, as we'll see. But yeah, I thought it was a good match. Good in ring. Not a ton of story significance. I'm not sure what Io does after this. I mean, she's a main eventer, but she's not gonna get another title shot or another match with Liv anytime soon because they just faced back-to-back Queen of the Ring and then now. So I'm not really sure what the plans are for Io. And then Liv also curse, I guess. They don't really talk about it. They like mention it like as a side comment that she was cursed but she still won. But no one's really, not no one, I don't know what people are talking about online, but the commentators aren't, no one's really talking about how she just kind of no-sold the curse and won a title match on a PLE while cursed. So not sure what that means for the curse as we go forward. But yeah, Liv is gonna, I mean, as we know now, Becky and Stephanie Vaquer are on Raw going for the title, so that's what she's doing. But yeah, not sure what's next for EO. The next match was the 6-man tag of the Bloodline, which was the Usos and Jacob Fatu against LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Solo Sikoa. They do another sponsored entrance. The Bloodline entrance was sponsored by Gears of War, which a lot of the times it's cheesy. We'll see one later in this night on Saturday that I will complain about. But at least for this one, the Gears of War logo in the Samoan kind of art style looked really cool. So, hey, decent. Not the worst sponsored entrance, at least. The crowd wasn't yeeting very hard. And the yeet, not that it's dying out, it's being killed because they're heel now, pretty much. I know that Roman gets cheered. Okay, sorry about that, my phone rang. Anyway, as I was saying. Oh yeah, so the Yeet is being killed because the Usos are heel. I was confused as to what Roman's character was because I didn't watch the Bloodline when it was first kind of happening. I'm more new to wrestling, at least modern wrestling. But Roman was getting cheered, and so I was very confused on if Roman was supposed to be a face or a heel because a lot of the things he was doing were heel things to do, but he was cheered. And I think I've just landed on, he's kind of like how Randy Orton is right now, where Randy Orton is like trying to be heel, but the crowd is going to cheer him because it's Randy and they like his song and all that stuff. So I'm not sure if that's intended, but my read of the situation is that the Bloodline and Roman are definitely heels that are just getting cheered because Roman is popular. So that's how I'm going to move forward. But yeah, so it's like hard to yeet for a heel who's not supposed to be like energetic, you know? Yeah, so, and then Fatu comes out, he has a werewolf mask on, you know, it is what it is, we can move on past that. Something different for PLE. I do like PLE is having something special, some spice to the entrance, but nothing crazy. So, start of the match, Solo like does some offense on the three of them, and then does the run it back in the middle of the match, like the bell had already rung, and then he beats him up. He does the run it back symbol, and then they actually do play Jey Uso's music, and then everyone kind of gets more into it when Solo kind of starts it. And I really like Solo as a face. He's just funny. He's just funny and he's charismatic. I mean, that's all you need. He's shooting, or not shooting, but, you know, he's working with his brothers, so I'm sure he has plenty of, you know, ammunition in terms of like good promo stuff to say on the Usos, and he's just funny and charismatic, like I said. And it's ironic because I wrote these notes when I watched the show, and I'm glazing face Solo, but as we know, Solo loses to Jey Uso on Raw in a week and is supposedly going to be forced to join the Bloodline. We'll see what happens with that. but that would just be absolutely terrible, and I think everyone is saying it. It's not just me saying it, everybody's saying it. But yeah, it would just be really sad that he gets this momentum. He was heel with the MFD. He drops the MFD. He joins Raw. He's a face. He's got crazy momentum, and then he's just gonna get killed potentially, which would be very disappointing. But as for this match, it looked like Jimmy hurt himself doing a super kick. Like, he did it and then kind of like fell down. And I was thinking that he might have like really injured his groin or like tore something. But I think it was just like a strain or something, because he wrestled the rest of the match and then he's been fine. So that was more of just an injury scare. They let LA Knight kick out of Jay spearing him into Jimmy hitting the Uso splash, and LA Knight kicked out, so that was good to see. Then, after they hit their individual moves, they're setting up for the 1D, but Solo spikes Jimmy as Jay is, Irish whipping Knight into the ropes, so there's no one there to hit the 1D with him. Then Jay is distracted by Solo spiking his brother, so then LA Knight kind of comes up behind him, hits him with the BFD, and that's the match. Jay had a pretty weird sell of this. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but LA Knight like pulls his head down for the BFD, and Jay literally lands like straight up and down, like his head, like he did a handstand, which was kind of weird to see. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if he just got lucky that he didn't hurt his neck. But yeah, that was a weird situation. As for the aftermath of this, we know, the Bloodline's just gonna stick with the tribal chief and, harass whoever is gonna contend for the title. And then Royce, we now know, has nothing planned for him because he got written off TV. LA Knight is in promos with Roman. Maybe he'll get a title shot, which would be the best case scenario for him. And then Solo might end up joining the Bloodline anyway, even though they win this match. So, 2 out of 3 getting fumbled. We'll see what happens. Okay, the third match was Nick Aldis versus Gunther. And this was like, I'll have to see. Off the top of my head, this might have been my favorite match, to be honest. And, maybe I'm glazing, because there were some other really big matches, but Aldis, I knew he... Sorry, I had to clear my throat. I knew he, held a championship, the NWA, I think, championship. And I knew he was a wrestler. And obviously, you could just see that he was jacked, but he was out of the ring for 3 years. And I just wasn't expecting it. He was a really big surprise for me. He's only 39. He's younger than Cody and Roman, and I think only a year older than Gunther. So, I could see him getting back in the ring, to be honest. But it was a really good match. Maybe because my expectations were low, but I thought it was a really good match, and the crowd was super into it. They actually let Aldis kick out of a power bomb from Gunther, but he taps out to the sleeper. Aldis got a lot of offense in this match. He got his submission in the middle of the ring, and Gunther was able to get to the bottom rope. They did a superplex. It didn't feel like I went back, I was watching 90s wrestling, and Triple H, when he's first coming up, he has a feud with the GM of Raw at the time, which was Sergeant Slaughter, and they had a match, and that's kind of what I was expecting. An old Sergeant Slaughter and Triple H had a pretty lackluster match, right? But that's not what I got. I got a real match between a, TNA world champion and a WWE former world champion, and it was a really good match. And then after the match, Nick Aldis' son and wife, who's Mickie James, they came out to the ring, and everyone was cheering and, chanting for him, and it was really just awesome. I saw before this match, Aldis was on the Chris Van Vliet podcast, and he was like getting emotional about having this opportunity to have this match. So the fact that he like killed it, in my opinion, it was just like a really cool emotional moment. And then after, you could tell he like stayed for like an extra beat and really wanted to savor like being in front of the crowd in that stadium. After his family came out, he like went up on the ropes, in the turnbuckles, and I feel like you could just tell that he was really savoring it, and it was just super wholesome, and it really was just a feel-good match, a feel-good moment. I don't know, I liked it a lot. Just seeing someone take full advantage of an opportunity. But yeah, so I was saying, I wonder why he retired. Did he get injured? Because he's younger than Cody and Roman. Cody and Roman are both 40, and he's 39, and he had a great match at SummerSlam. So I wonder why he retired. And yeah, Gunther, not sure what the plans are for him, because he's not the number one contender. It's going to be a while before he's challenging for the undisputed title. But yeah, so 3 for 3 on predictions. Obviously, Gunther was going to win. Nothing crazy there. Now we have Fatal Influence versus the Bellas and Paige. This was a pretty sloppy match, to be honest. There was like constant action, which is good, like that's what they wanted. But it was like rushed, and just something was off. They went from spot to spot to spot, but it never really flowed, and it wasn't super clean. And how the match ends, Paige takes out Fallon Henley on the apron, but then she turns around and gets hit by Rolling Encore from JC Jane, and that's the match. 1, 2, 3. I was very surprised that this prediction was wrong. So this was the first one I got wrong, 3 for 4. I thought it was very clear that the Bellas were going to win so that they had, a claim to a title opportunity over Fatal Influence. Because it seemed like Nikki and Brie were going to have a title run. That's what they came back for, right? But no, they go the other way. And they do that because after the match, the Bellas turn heel on Paige since she got pinned. And then obviously also for taking Nikki's spot. I was surprised, if nothing else, I wasn't ready for that. It seems like everyone on the internet said it was obvious. I guess I didn't know the Bella Twins history well enough, but yeah, I was surprised. And I was surprised, but that didn't make it good, because in my head, the tag team champs are heel, and now you just turned who was supposed to be the biggest contender also heel. So now you have 2 big tag teams, and they're both heel, so I'm not sure what the plan is with that. Now we are at the second to last match. Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk for the undisputed title. I was a little bit surprised that this wasn't the main event, and they saved Brock and Oba for last. I originally thought Brock was going to lead the show, as he is known to do. But after he didn't go first, I guess it makes more sense for him to be the main event. But yeah, so like I said, this is the entrance I was alluding to. Cody, his entrance was sponsored by the Street Fighter movie because he's in it, and his entrance, I think, kind of sucked. So he had his skull helmet that he wears for PLEs, like his American Nightmare logo, but it had the Guile hair on it, which is funny, but that's not, this is a world title match, entrance at a PLE. We don't need that kind of sponsored garbage. Like, it looked silly, which is not what you want. Like, could it be good merch? Sure. Is that what you want in a SummerSlam main event, main event type match? Not really, in my opinion. This was a very long match. Everybody hit all their stuff. There was Cody cutters, disaster kicks, Punk with the running knee into the corner, into the bulldog. There was the Anaconda Vice, a couple crossroads, a couple go to sleeps. Everyone was hitting everything. Punk is selling like a knee injury spot like the whole time. He goes for the elbow, like from the turnbuckle all the way out to the announce desk, but Cody actually rolls off the table and he just lands on the table by himself, hitting nothing. And I guess he lands on his feet, which I feel like was probably suboptimal for his lower body. I feel like you probably just want to land on your side, but yeah. Punk kicks out of a crossroads, which in a PLE is not that surprising. And then Cody kicks out of a GTS, which again, PLE, not super surprising. Cody actually gets out of another GTS by grabbing the bottom rope, so Cody's taking a beating here and staying in it. Cody then goes for a super Cody cutter, so just a Cody cutter from the top rope, like an OG cutter basically. Except Punk gets out of the way and he actually ends up hitting the ref. So now we're in uncharted waters, ref bump, anything could happen. Punk hits another GTS on Cody while the ref is out. And then Cody does the bounce off the ropes and then land back on his shoulder spot like in the Roman match at WrestleMania. And this time Punk is actually able to lift up Cody a second time. But before he actually hits the second GTS in a row, Cody counters it, gets behind him, and hits him with a crossroads, but he actually rolls out of the ring after he gets hit by this one. So then it's just Cody in the ring and the ref knocked out. And a returning Randy Orton comes in from the crowd, slides into the ring behind Cody, turns him around, RKO, and then winks at the camera and runs away. Punk comes back in the ring. He didn't see Randy hit the RKO is the storyline they're going with. Hits another GTS, and then the ref at this point is stirring and he's okay, and then Punk gets the pin and gets the win. So I was 4 for 5 on predictions after that one. I did predict Punk to win, but I wasn't sure. That one was a coin flip to me. I guess it makes sense when you consider Randy coming back. So I'm happy that Punk won because I think Punk has a lot more matches on SmackDown left to have that Cody, has been on SmackDown for a long time. And now he has Randy to keep him busy, so I think that's fine. And I have a feeling that Cody and Randy are going to be in this feud without the title involved until maybe even Royal Rumble, and then one of them could maybe win that, although Oba will probably win the Rumble, but I don't know. It's interesting because Randy was all about number 15, but now he's also all about stopping Cody from getting the title. So not sure how those two ideas are going to mesh. And then Punk obviously has his next challenger lined up, which we'll get to. Then the last match for Saturday, Brock versus Oba in the Hell in a Cell. Oba comes out hot in this match. He gets a lot of offense to start. they're outside the ring. Oba's throwing him into the cell. Sorry, another phone call. Anyway, yeah, they propped up a table, leaning up against the cell, and Oba threw Brock into the table, broke that. So yeah, Oba's coming out with a lot of offense early. Then, back in the ring, he hits the fall from grace, and Brock actually kicks out. So this is the first time, at least on the main roster, that I'm not sure what happened in NXT, but the first time on the main roster that someone had kicked out of the fall from grace. And it makes sense for it to be Brock in his last match. Then, after kicking out, Brock hits Oba with 3 F5s in a row, and Oba kicks out. And obviously, at Clash in Italy, Oba kicked out of, a bunch of F5s, but 3 in a row is kind of crazy. They're laying it on a little thick. And it only gets crazier from here. Brock rips up the mat and exposes, the wood underneath the, layer of padding in the ring. And I thought that was just interesting to see because I didn't know what was under there. So I thought I got a kick out of that. I was like, hey, look at that. It's just wooden planks. I didn't know that. Brock picks up Oba for an F5. But then he does the Undertaker thumb across the throat and then moves Oba into the tombstone position. And Brock, who's 49 years old, is holding up Oba Femi, 300-pound Oba Femi, in a tombstone pile driver, and then safely delivers the tombstone to Oba onto the wooden planks. So, Brock, first of all, probably hurt his knees. That's a bold move to do in your last match, so respect there. Brock obviously signaling to Undertaker, he broke the streak, but now Oba is about to lose his undefeated Hell in a Cell record. And then I also just thought it was pretty interesting that Brock would pay homage to anybody. He kind of seemed like his own recluse kind of individual guy. So for him to reference another wrestler, that was pretty interesting, I thought. But yeah, so then he hits a tombstone pile driver onto wood. And then Oba Femi kicks out, which is crazy. Again, he took 3 F5s not long before this. So really heavy-handed push for Oba. Then, he kicks out of that. Brock grabs a chair. Oba punches the chair out of Brock's hands. And then hits the fall from grace again and gets the pin. After the match, Oba is looking at Brock emotional, and you could tell just very appreciative that Brock gave him that match, which was nice to see from him. And that was even before they hug, and Brock grabs the mic and just keeps it really simple, and he just says, Oba's the future and I'm the past, and then that's it, and he's gone. He had his very emotional goodbye at WrestleMania, it felt like. And now this was just, even though it was his hometown, it was this was all business. I'm doing the job. I'm putting over Oba. He's the future. I'm done. And that's that. But yeah, super cool for Oba. I'm sure he'll remember this, for the rest of his life, getting a wrestler that big to, choose you, to give you that huge push and huge rub. And when it's your first year on the main roster, it must feel so cool for him. But yeah, so that was Saturday. Now we move on to Sunday. Again, I got that prediction right as well, so only one wrong so far. But that will not stay that way. So, we have Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor to start out for the number one contender match for the undisputed title. But after their entrances, Nick Aldis comes out and interrupts before the match actually starts. And he says he's been reinstated as SmackDown General Manager and he needs to do what's best for business and, and call it down the middle. So he's adding someone to the match. And then Gunther's music hits and he comes out. So you're thinking, okay, well, he lost to Gunther. So, that's what call it down the middle is, respect, here's your opportunity, right? But then he says this is actually a fatal four-way match, and then Kevin Owens has his return. So I never watched Kevin Owens. I missed basically from like WrestleMania 30 to, a couple months ago. I don't have it. I stopped watching. All I know is that Kevin Owens hurt his neck and the commentators said he was out for 15 months. So I can appreciate that is a really cool moment for him and the crowd. I mean, they had two separate shots of two different girls crying as he's making his entrance. So obviously it was a very big deal. But for me, personally, it just doesn't hit because I don't know Kevin Owens. Like, I can appreciate you hurt your neck and your back, and that's super awesome. You probably thought you may never have this opportunity ever again. So that's super cool for him. But for me, it just doesn't hit as hard. The whole time he's making his entrance, Gunther and Sami are crashing out because, they're going to play the they got screwed angle. They're going to keep that going. Basically, once this started happening, I went into it thinking Sami would win, but once this happened, it's pretty obvious Sami's going to lose because he's going to continue his story of, complaining, right? That's his character right now. But then, when Gunther was coming out, Sami Zayn was crashing out. But when Kevin Owens was coming out, Sami Zayn was just standing there with his mouth open because they were good friends, from what I understand. And that was pretty funny, or not funny. That was smart that he reacted that way. That was a good character moment. Obviously, this was shocking. This was a double whammy of shock from the Fatal 4-Way reveal to then it being Kevin Owens. So, super surprising, super cool moment. But again, once this happened, you knew Sami was definitely not going to win. And when they start the match finally, Kevin Owens, I feel makes a point to show that he's fully back because he's doing crazy stuff right off the bat, doing cannonballs in the corner and just a bunch of offense to everybody to show that he's fully back and he's not worried at all. I knew from YouTube shorts and stuff that his finish was the stunner, but I didn't know he also did the swanton. So, no wonder everybody loves this guy. He just picked two of the coolest moves and he's just doing them, and his swanton was really good. So yeah, watching him in the ring, I was very entertained. I understand why he's so popular. But again, for the return, it just doesn't hit for me. Everyone got to hit a finish on somebody, except the Helluva Kick. The Helluva Kick was not seen in this match. So, one of the noteworthy spots was Finn getting sleepered by Gunther. Sami's getting sleepered by Gunther. And, while laying, Gunther's laying flat, holding Sami in the sleeper. And then Finn hits the coup de grace. The coup de grace, not the coup de grace. I don't know. I was just reading. And that's how it came out. It's the coup de grace on Sami while he's being sleepered by Gunther and kind of hits both of them. Kevin Owens, later in the match, he's going for a swanton and Sami gets his knees up and then hits a blue thunder bomb, and Kevin Owens is kind of like selling his neck, which was kind of concerning for me. I'm sure it was just a spot, but I feel like that's kind of sus that they had him sell his neck. I was like, Jesus, hopefully he's okay, but he's fine. So, they got me. Hey, Mark, guilty. What could I say? But the guy comes back after neck surgery. You hit him with a blue thunder bomb and he's holding the back of his neck. I'm going to be a little concerned for the guy. Then, later in the match, the finish, Owens hits Gunther and Finn with a stunner. Like, not at the same time, he hits Gunther with a stunner, then he hits Finn with a stunner. Then, Sammy counters the stunner and is setting up for a Luva kick. But as Sammy's running across the ring for the Luva kick, Kevin hits him with it, intercepts him running in with a super kick, and then finally gets the stunner on Sammy and pins Sammy and to become the number 1 contender for the undisputed title. So, like I said, for Sunday, we're starting 0 for 1. To be fair, I would never have predicted someone to win the match that was not in the match, but here we are, 0 for 1 on predictions on Sunday. Kevin Owens versus CM Punk should be pretty fun. I don't know if this has happened before, but I'm excited to see it now. I haven't seen it before. And then Sammy obviously will just be staying angry with Nick Aldis and all that. That'll be his arc. And then Gunther, I'm not sure where Gunther goes from here. I also noted that the SmackDown main event scene, or the SmackDown men's main event scene, is just 3 guys from Raw. You have Punk, Gunther, and Finn coming in, and now one of them's the champion on SmackDown, and then 2 of them were in a number 1 contender fatal 4-way match. So kind of funny how that happened. Okay, we're approaching 40 minutes, and we're only 1 match into Sunday. We could hit this one quick. Trick Williams versus Baron Corbin. Baron kind of does nothing for me. But he did surprise me. He did do some cool moves, but he just kind of has no motion. He has no charisma or no character, really, besides bald biker guy. But yeah, so this match was kind of silly because Trick sets up a table outside the ring, even though it's not a no disqualification match, so I don't know why he set up the table, and then the table ends up costing him the match, so that was dumb to me. But Yachty and Corbin are getting into it on the apron, and then Trick punches Baron, who then bumps into Lil Yachty because they're both on the apron. Then Yachty falls and lands through the table, which was pretty funny for a manager to go through the table. Gotta respect that. But then Trick is all distraught about Yachty, and then he turns around, gets hit by the End of Days, and loses his title. So, couple notes for this. One, got this one wrong as well. I thought he just got the legacy title with the white fur. So then, why would you just get that and then have Baron Corbin win it? And now he looks silly holding a white fur title belt when he looks, the way that he's presented. So it was just a little silly. And then I guess returning just means you're gonna win something pretty big, unless you're Matt Cardona. That's pretty much what it looks like. The Bellas get their title match. He gets his title. Kevin Owens wins his match. So unless you're Matt Cardona, if you return, you're gonna win something. So what it's looking like right now. Yeah, like I said, he had some cool matches, or some cool moves in the match. I'm sure he could have, some cool matches with Mello and whatnot, but, I don't know. I don't like him as much as Trick. We'll see what happens. Also, one other note, on SmackDown, he still had the white fur title, which kind of makes me think that it might go back to Trick eventually. And then, because it really did feel like Trick's title run was supposed to end with a Mello and Trick PLE match. That's what it felt like to me. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Then we have the women's ladder match, which was a big surprise. I was a little disappointed in the ladder match itself. Obviously, the men just had a ladder match at WrestleMania 42 that was insane, and this was not that match. There was only like one spot that had me like shocked, like whoa, that's a cool spot, and it was Chelsea pushing the ladder over with Tiffany on it, and then as it's falling, she's able to jump off and hit a swanton, and like instead of just jumping off the ladder and taking everyone out, she's falling, jumps off the ladder, does a swanton, and I just thought that was very impressive, like very just athletically impressive. There was a Charlotte spot where she's like not holding on by the title because the title's Velcro, so you can't do that anymore. There was like whatever the title was hanging on, there was like a bar. I realize you can't see my hands just sticking up in the air. There was a bar that she's holding on to, and that was kind of silly because she could have just tried to grab the title, but instead she just drops down to the floor from all the way up there, which, I mean, she took it like a champ. I thought the fall looked pretty far to me. And I mean, yeah, Jade and someone else was there to like kind of catch her, but they didn't really catch her, like her legs hit the ground, so I'm sure that didn't feel great on her like knees and ankles, but I mean, she kind of took it like a champ. I was surprised by that. So the finish, you have 4 of the women, Charlotte and Jade, on one ladder, Lash and Tiffany on another ladder, with the title kind of in the middle, and they're fighting. Then they both fall off their ladders. And Chelsea Green, who was kind of like selling being passed out after she got assaulted by B-Fab and Michin, like kind of comes to and then just climbs the ladder and grabs the belt, which everyone popped off for, which I was surprised. I mean, I liked Chelsea. I knew people liked Chelsea on the internet at least, but she was way more over than I thought. Like, you know, she's a mid-carder, really, but she was getting cheered, like the entire stadium was cheering so loud for her, so I thought that was nice for her. But yeah, so there's obviously controversy with the interim label. It's like, is Chelsea a former world champion? If she loses to Rhea when she comes back, was she a world champion or was she an interim world champion? Like, does it count? And on SmackDown, they're kind of leaning into it. She has a shirt that like is making fun of the interim thing, and they announce her as the new women's champion on SmackDown. So it seems like all this interim stuff was just like they decided not to commit to it, and they realized it was a bad idea. But then it's just kind of a waste. And it kind of cheapened Chelsea's win a little bit. But yeah, obviously, we know now she hurt her eye, the same injury that Undertaker actually had in the 90s. But we'll see if she ends up wrestling with the mask or not. And that's kind of what it seems like. It doesn't seem like she's going to vacate. But yeah, hopefully she could continue her run. Okay, now we have Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio. I'm gonna do this one quick as well. JD interferes, the Mini-Hausens interfere. Joe Hendry comes out once JD starts slamming the Mini-Hausens around, so it was just, you know, kind of madness. Oh yeah, so it's the money on a pole. So, you know, there's a pole in the corner with a bag on it that you have to grab to win the match. Dom's up there, gonna get it, and then Danhausen does the cursed pyro spot, so then Dom falls off the turnbuckle, and Danhausen climbs it, grabs the money, and, you know, wins the match. I mean, I guess it's okay, because Dom, like, he didn't get pinned by Danhausen at least. But this is still so annoying to me that they're having him lose to Danhausen. Like, how do you have Dominic Mysterio AAA Mega Champion, former Intercontinental Champion, beat John Cena a couple months ago. Now he's jobbing to a comedy act. Like, it's just so frustrating to me. But, I mean, at least he didn't get pinned. And it was also just kind of a lame match in the sense that, like, he never hit a 619 or a frog splash. It, like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really like the match. So Liv won despite being cursed. Dom, not so lucky. Oh yeah, also I got the prediction wrong for Chelsea Green, obviously. And then I predicted Dom to win. That was more just cope. But yeah, so technically another prediction wrong for Sunday. We then have Chad Gable versus Penta for the IC title. I noticed since they were in Minnesota and in the Viking Stadium that Gable's like clap that he does is like the school chant, which was kind of interesting. I wrote here, I feel like these PLE matches are still short. Like from WrestleMania, it had the same feel where everything is kind of short. And obviously in the main event, that's where all the time went, but I feel like they need to give more time to these mid-card matches. I mean, how else are people supposed to get over? Like, Roman wants everyone to get over while he's gone. And then, I don't know. Like, Roman's telling everyone that they have to get over. And then he has all of the time for the matches. So, whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, so it was a pretty short match. Chad kicks out of a Mexican Destroyer. And then he wins the match with an ankle lock. And I have an issue with the ankle lock as a finish. Earlier in the match, Chad puts the ankle lock on Penta twice. And both times, Penta almost immediately just jumps, like rolls forward, and then like launches Gable, like, you know what they do. They like get up on their one foot that's not locked, and then they jump and roll, and then Gable kind of gets sent away. And he does that like super easily. So then, for whatever reason, the third time he has the ankle lock, Penta just doesn't do the roll through or even like attempt it. He just holds it for a little bit, and then Gable like locks in the ankle like with his foot, kind of like how Gunther has the sleeper, but then he like lays down on the sleeper, and then you're like really cooked. Like it was kind of like that. But it's like, why doesn't Gable just lock up their leg earlier so that they can't roll through? And B, why didn't Penta just do the counter that he did the first two times very easily the third time? So I'm not in love with the ankle lock, but it was really cool that Chad got the win in the home stadium, as predictable as it was. Chad got emotional, which was good to see. I didn't feel it as much as the Aldis match on Saturday. I felt more emotion for the Aldis match, I guess just because it's an old guy getting another shot for like his one and only WWE PLE match, instead of just Chad like finally winning his title. So it didn't do as much for me as Nick Aldis, but it was still pretty cool, I guess. There was also controversy that the Mug Dog mascot came out towards the end of Chad's celebration. I understand why people were mad at that. I thought it was funny more than anything, because I don't know if you've seen on your short form content platforms, but these mug ads that they're putting out are pretty funny. So to see the Mug Dog on WWE TV, I just thought it was funny. I was surprised. Okay, main event. Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins came out in pretty cool gear. But Roman did nothing special for his entrance, which was kind of disappointing to see. Like I said, they saved all the time in the show for this match. They fight through the whole crowd, which is cool. Love that. Kind of weird that to just rely on the ref not counting them out just because it's the main event, so that they can fight through the crowd. I don't know if makes the most sense, like booking logical wise, but I mean, it's fun that they're fighting through the crowd, so it is what it is. They powerbomb each other through the announce desks. Okay, that will hopefully be the final cut of the video. Had some background noise. But yeah, so Seth goes through one of the announce tables, and then Roman goes through the other one. I also was wondering, is it not a DQ if you powerbomb someone through an announce desk? Like, I guess you're not hitting them with a weapon, but you're using an outside thing. I'm not really sure if that should be a DQ or not. Like, technically, obviously they're not going to end the SummerSlam main event on a DQ, but I was just curious. But yeah, so they were hitting spears, they were hitting stomps. Seth hit a spear. I don't remember if Roman hit a stomp or not. I think he did, though. Then they were doing a couple of Dean Ambrose moves. I mean, that's like, I get that that's cool, but it doesn't really do anything for me. I watched the Shield debut, but when I stopped watching, they were still together. Like, I didn't see Roman kind of become Roman or Seth become Seth. They were just like the Shield still when I was watching as a kid. So another example of something that I understand is supposed to be cool, but personally I don't get, it doesn't make me feel anything. There's a ref bump where he just takes a full-on spear from Roman, which was pretty funny. I was like, dang, like that guy just got absolutely destroyed. But while the ref was down, there wasn't actually anything super crazy. They didn't really use the ref bump for anything like that. I mean, you couldn't have any interference in this match because it's, you know, the bookend to the Shield and Seth and Roman. So having any interference would just be a complete, like, it would just ruin the match, because then they'd have to do it again. But while the ref was down, Roman has the chair, and he's like looking to hit Seth. Because obviously, you know, the Shield chair is basically a meme at this point. But yeah, so he's going to hit Seth in the back. But then he throws the chair away, and he doesn't succumb to that urge, that primal urge to use the weapon on Seth. And that's pretty much when the match ended. You knew once he threw away the chair that's kind of the story they were telling, and that they're saying he's grown past needing this revenge, and you know, he's grown past Seth Rollins and his dirty tricks, and you know, he just pretty much knew the match was over once he threw away the chair. Rollins gets the spear counter pedigree, like where he dives in, but then he catches him in his knees and pedigrees, and then he hits a stomp, but then he goes for a top rope stomp, or maybe it was a second rope stomp, it doesn't matter, but he's going for a super stomp. But he misses it, lands on his feet, rolls through, and then he gets hit by 3 spears. So he lands on his feet, rolls through, gets hit by a spear, then another spear, and then a super spear, for lack of a better term, you know, off the ropes, and for the third spear, and then that's it. And then after the match, they do the little Shield fist bump with the Shield mask in between them, kind of signaling, like Dean Ambrose. And yeah, again, people like that doesn't do much for me. The match was a good match. The story, I don't really know. I follow the story, but doesn't make me feel anything, like, emotionally, because I wasn't there for the history of it. Which I think is why I maybe didn't film this review after I took all the notes because I knew that everyone really liked it, but for me, I mean, I liked Saturday more than Sunday, just personally. But yeah, so as for the fallout of this match, Roman's going to be champion probably for a while now that he got over Seth. And I'm not sure what happens now for Seth. Or is he never going to wrestle Roman one-on-one ever again? Like, that's kind of what that was, right? That's pretty much signaling that. So then, is he ever going to get another title shot? Because I feel like Roman is always going to be in the title picture, and Seth and Roman are kind of done fighting each other. And he did hint at retirement in some of his promos. So is Seth done winning world titles? You know, that's crossing my mind. I'm not sure. But yeah, I also picked Seth out of Cope, so Sunday I pretty much only got Chad Gable right. I got every other match wrong. So yeah, not great predictions for me for this one. But yeah, it was a good show. People are saying that it was, you know, saving WWE. I don't know, I enjoyed the show. But again, there was a lot of building on old stuff. Like this, like the main event and like Kevin Owens, that doesn't really hit for me, but I understand why the community really liked it. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna try and be more consistent with the wrestling. I have an idea for a video I want to do that's not a review, just a ramble. I have ideas in my head that I want to talk about the booking. So that'll be coming out. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do reviews for Raws and SmackDowns every week. My idea is to do like one wrestling video like a week for both shows and just be like, this is kind of what's going on in WWE this week. Because just keeping up with it when I have work, it's just difficult to keep up with. Like that intently. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll work it out. I'll be more consistent on the wrestling. It's gonna be tough though, because obviously this is prime fantasy football season, and then the actual football is gonna be starting. So I think maybe once football's over, I could do Raw reviews and SmackDown reviews separately. But I think for now, for the foreseeable future, I'm gonna have still consistent. I want to be consistent with WWE uploads, but maybe not, as much for the next couple months here. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. We're up to 20 something subs. That feels really nice. Thank you guys for that. Thank you for spending your time with me. Have a great night. Peace.